Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about this old Bible verse that a lot of people should know by now if they're born on this earth. I'm going to say it because it's a part of all of Adam and Eve's descendants. It doesn't matter what your Ancestry 23andMe results happens to be. Every single person that is in existence today was born at one time. Genesis 3:16. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. So this is in Genesis 3:16. Isn't that the opposite of John 3:16? What does that say? Okay, let's go there and look at it. John 3:16. It says, For God so loved the world, that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Okay, think about that last word, life. None of the human community, no matter who you are, came to be, as in life, without going through a womb of a woman. Raise your hand if you don't have a biological womb, mother, that you came from. I've heard of the surrogate people. They're part of the same club too, even though their parent or biological thing is kind of a mixed bag of worms there. I know about the surrogate infertility treatment, so raise your hand if you didn't come from a seed and a womb at the same, you know what I mean? I see no hands raised. Okay, all right. There's not a single person that can go without that. Okay. Sorry. It says in here, in this Bible verse, it says, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow. Okay. So that's the opposite of John 3:16. It says, whoever believeth in him should not perish. What happens when people perish? They cry, right? Somebody has to cry over somebody else's death, right? I will greatly multiply thy sorrow. Okay. Perishing. Sorrow. Perishing. Whosoever believeth in him should not perish. Okay. Ooh. So he wants to create a world. Jesus came so that we wouldn't have to sense that sorrow, so to speak. The sorrow of, it says sorrow and thy conception. Okay. There is sorrow associated with womanhood, childbearing, things like that. The sorrows come in various ways. What kind of sorrows do women face? It could be domestic violence issues, there could be stories about what went on in childhood, there could be diseases. Sorry, I'm coughing. Sicknesses in a marriage. The old way of doing marriage licensing, they'd say, in sickness and in health. So sorrow was the sickness part of life. So I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. Okay. With the water, when the water quality is really bad, there's more sorrow. Okay. In women's health. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. When the environment conditions, like the air quality, is bad, there's more sorrow associated with women's health. There's no ifs, ands, or buts or ways to get around that. When the nature environment doesn't fit with the woman's body, there's more sorrow. Okay? There's more perishing. Okay? So let's read the Bible verse, John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Okay. The opposite of perishing is everlasting life. Okay. So you see where I'm kind of going with this? I'm kind of narrowing it down. Do you know of somebody who was abused as a woman? Okay. They have a womb. Let's just be real here. Don't follow this transgender idea. If the person doesn't have ability to bleed on a monthly cycle, they're not transgender. They're wicked. They don't love God and they want to behave as if they can be a woman when they don't have that. They don't have that in them. Yes, there's women that have problems in their ability to develop children because their womb doesn't do something the same as another one. Okay. By DNA default. So that's another sorrow is DNA default that we've all been passed on from generation to generation. Septic and all this other stuff shows up. Anyway, okay. So yeah, Jesus gives everlasting life, but this woman has to deal with the sorrow bringing forth children. Does it mean the woman is ultimately cursed or something or anything like that? No, it just means that Jesus is the only hope. That's what it means. Because the next verse after it says, John 3:17, for God sent not his son into the world to condemn the world, but the world through him might be saved. We're not saved through a woman's body. Woman can't save woman. Doesn't work. I'm going to be as honest as I can. Every woman knows the lunar calendar. If they have been through a pregnancy, they know that they have to use a lunar calendar to kind of come up with the timeline of the pregnancy calendar. So every single woman on this planet knows that the pregnancy calendar aligns with the moon somehow. Like there's a 7 moon cycle, like a 7 moons, 9 moons, 10 moons, and you're kind of getting on the too far. There's no 10. If you've gone 10 moons into your pregnancy from conception, that's too much. You get about a 7 to 9. 6 is kind of hitting the really small, preemie, barely able to survive, the sorrow stage. So if you want your children to survive, your timeline is going to be within 7 to 9 moons to be here on Earth for the child in the womb to come to Earth. Okay, so every atom, every person, all ancestry results. It doesn't matter. Okay. Anyway, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. So does that mean like there's many out of wedlock conceptions and conditions? Mary of the Bible, Mary and Jesus. Mary conceived out of wedlock, but she had been betrothed though. So they were betrothed, so they were in the process of marriage. They were not fully married. Okay. They had not come together, so to speak. You know the story. Okay. The desire is going to go for the righteous man. Think about it. This is not telling you that marriage itself fixes things. It's saying your desire should be focusing on the new Adam, the new husband. Okay? For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believes. Okay. God sent his son. God sent not his son into the world to condemn the world, but the world through him might be saved. Oh, he that believeth on him is not condemned, but he that believeth not is condemned already, because he hath not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of God. Okay, so you can read the rest of that Bible verse. Okay. Um, there is literally no such thing as a transgender person. They play games like that these days. They're putting on makeup, they're doing other things, they're mutilating and hormonally rewiring things. But in full reality, as the overall spectrum of nature is concerned, there is no such thing. It's kind of like saying a whale, a blue whale in the sea, can become an eagle. No, you can't flip nature around like that. It doesn't work. So, orders of nature exist, whether man decides that to be there or not. The orders of conception and its issues, it's going to exist whether man wants it to be there or not. The sorrow associated with this Bible verse is going to be there whether man wants it to be there or not. Unfortunately, it's true because women's health has been here for century after century. King David had a stillborn child. There's stories about miscarriages and stuff like that. So the OB department has its. I haven't worked in an OB department, but there's sorrow associated with the OB department. Like they have to deal with that. Um, Bleeding is part of human function. Okay, they have to deal with the sorrows. Okay, or they're not an OB department. That includes the elements of the environment that created those sorrows, the water quality and air quality, and whatever, the domestic violence, filth of wars and rumors of wars and all that stuff. So it's unfortunate that there's bad, but there is good in Jesus. Yep. He is not a trans person. He never caters to trans filth. He never told people to rewire their hormones or mutilate themselves. He said, clearly, if you love me, keep the commandments. Okay? So the commandments say many things about what a woman is designed to do. There's a certain set of timeline after birth. It says something like, after conceiving a male child, the woman takes a 6 weeks or 40-day timeline of separation. And that's normal. That's in the OB department today. You have to stop all your work for that 40 days after male or female, one or the other, doesn't matter. But the Bible kind of expands upon it and says after 80 days for the female child born to the woman. Okay. All right. Apply that to reality. Yeah, maybe there can be some differences between the female and the male baby. Um, some people would notice that, and some people wouldn't. I guess there is a little bit of difference in the strength of the female baby versus the male baby. I don't, you know. Okay. Um, I'm not a person that's worked in a nursery or a daycare, but some people might notice that when they're around a lot of young babies. They'll say, "Oh, you know, you can see a different way that the babies act when they're male or whether they're female already as a baby. They're under age 1. Okay. Now, yes, even Jesus did address things like the deformities that occur in the womb. That's okay. There's different tones in the choir, so to speak. There's different heights and weights in women. There's different tones that they have that come out of their voice in a woman. That's not really anything to do with transgender issue or anything funny like that. The full story about all of this is right in the Bible. I will greatly multiply thy sorrow. Big tech cannot calculate and find every single lost pregnancy, and furthermore, big tech actually caters to the abortion industry. So the sorrow is the abortion industry pushing it into the social clubs. Because all they do, I have other videos on it, but all they're doing is pushing infidelities and lies and cheating and STDs and all these other filthy things. It's nothing you want to cater to. It's nothing Jesus wants you to cater to, put it that way. Because he is the living water. All right. Um, there's obviously way more to this topic, but you can use this Bible verse, compare it to the 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 final hour Bible verse, put it that way, the gospel Bible verse, John 3:16, and see how the hope, the issue of death found in Genesis 3:16, the sorrow was replaced by his life. Okay? You can kind of see how that works. And yes, it's been proven that a near-death experience, individuals that have experienced near-death experience, they have seen miscarriage and stillborn and um, young baby death children on the other side. The children that die, like, let's just say under 2 years old, they've seen those babies on the other side. They're very innocent. They can't discern certain things, obviously. Under the age of 2, they you know, they're speaking in their voice. They can't speak up for themselves under the age of 2. So, God sees all conceptions. He sees all young babies. He sees it all. And the John chapter 3 applies to that. All right. I hope that clears up a lot of clutter. Remember, nature has order. And if a person says they are transgender woman, ask them, how much sorrow have you put up with lately? They don't answer because they don't have an answer for that. They haven't lost anything. They don't lose blood. They don't lose anything. So they can't be that. Okay. Jesus lost his life for humanity. All right. Is that clear? Okay. Good. Have a good day.